Hi. So we are starting our first real episode, and it all begins with a simple walk. Socrates is heading down to the Piraeus, the port of Athens, with his friend Glaucon to check out a new festival. On their way back, they get stopped by a group of friends, and it's one of those classic "you are not leaving yet" moments. They end up at the house of an old man named Cephalus, who is the patriarch of the family and basically the grand old man of the story. Socrates starts chatting with Cephalus about old age. Cephalus is actually pretty happy. He says he's glad to be old because he's finally escaped from mad and furious masters. Now, what did he mean by that? He meant the wild passion and desires of youth. He's at peace because he has lived a good life and has enough money to never have to lie or cheat anyone. This leads to the first attempt at defining justice. To Cephalus, justice is simple: be honest and pay back what you owe. But Socrates, being Socrates, throws a wrench in that. He asks, what if a friend lent you a sword when he was sane, but then he goes crazy and asks for it back? Is it still just to give it back? Cephalus has to admit that in that case, giving it back might actually be dangerous and wrong. So the first definition falls apart. Cephalus decides he's had enough and leaves to go offer a sacrifice, handing the argument over to his son Polymachus. Polymachus tries a more tough guy approach. He quotes a poet to say that justice is doing good to your friends and harm to your enemies. Socrates starts picking this apart using analogies of different skins. He points out that if you injure a horse, it gets worse. If you injure a dog, it gets worse. So, if you harm a human, you are basically making them less virtuous, meaning you are making them more unjust. Socrates argues that a truly just person can't use their justice to make someone else unjust. Therefore, it can never be just to harm someone. Just as things are getting polite, the Chalcedonian giant Thrasymachus can't take it anymore. He's been pacing in the background and finally erupts like a wild beast, seeking to devour them. He's a sophist, basically a professional debater, and he's angry that Socrates is being so ironic and refusing to give his own answers. Thrasymachus drops a bombshell. He claims that justice is nothing else than the interest of the stronger. He argues that the people in power make the laws to benefit themselves, and then they call those laws justice. So the common people will follow them. To him, the just man is always a loser compared to the unjust man who has the power to take what he wants. Socrates fights back by looking at what it actually means to be a ruler. He uses the example of a physician or a pilot of a ship. A doctor doesn't prescribe medicine for their own benefit. They do it for the health of the patient. A pilot doesn't say just for themselves. They do it for the sailors on the ship. Socrates argues that any true art or leadership role is focused on the good of the subject, not the leader. He even points out that good people don't actually want to rule. They only do it because they are afraid of being ruled by someone worse than them. So by the end of this first showdown, Thrasymachus is silent. He even blushes because Socrates has backed him into a corner. Socrates has proven that justice is a form of wisdom and virtue, while injustice is just ignorance. But as we are going to see in the next episode, Glaucon and Adeimantus aren't satisfied yet. They want a deeper proof that being good is worth it, even if no one is watching. I remain your host, Osho Abiodun. Do join me in the next episode.